We had the test last lesson. We will do the solutions now. We will also look at homeworks. We'll see about ID code. Maybe I'll give it to you for the next time as well. And today we will look at functions. And actually, after that, it's the end of first part of like basic Python. So we will split beginning from Friday. We will inform you about. I think it will be at the same time for now, at the same time, but a different room for data analysis. It's start to month 53, but we will give all information in chat a little bit later. I think today or latest tomorrow. So let's look at the tests. I will create separate files for each of the tasks. So I'll do 001 test. Let's look at solutions. I'll give you a couple of comments as well. So first one, it was easy, and I'm glad to see that pretty much everyone managed to do that. So what can we do here? We can create separate variables, for example, name, surname, and so on and so on. So let's do it like that. Input, please enter name. We could do it this way. It's not a mistake, creating separate variables. I will show you one more way of doing it. So you can actually do several variables. For example, free, it was name, age. Yep. So what you can do is actually you can give free variables and you can assign something like list to tuple. So for example, if I say Jack Smith 25, print name, surname, and age. So I didn't show you that before, but actually if you declare free variables and give a value of iterable with three different values, iterable will be split for each variable. So basically Jack will go to name, Smith will go to surname, and 25 will go to age. So you can declare many variables like that. Why is it not the best way? Because if you have something else, you will get a mistake because you have four values here and only three variables. Same thing will happen if you are missing something. So like that. So be careful with that. You can use it. And why I'm showing you this now, because sometimes you can also do an input here. So basically what happens here, we ask person, please enter name, surname, age, like that. Let's say use comma as separator. And you can use a split method. Remember, method split was splits the string into split string into a list. So split was using white space. I will use comma space in here. And if I do that, I can actually say Roman 35 like that, and assign three variables at the same time. It's one of the possibilities I wanted to show you. If you did separate variables, it's good too, because using this method requires user to enter everything correctly. So if I'm using comma space, then each value must be separated with a comma space here. And user must provide free values for our free variables. So I will leave it like that, but actually you could do this both ways, like creating separate variables, just to show you some. Where is the text? I will add it now. I will just show you how to declare this. So speaking of text, I won't be thinking out anything. I will copy the same text, copy it here, put an F for F string. And what was good for most of you, you did actually look at the assignment sentence, because most of the people on tests, they usually put name first, then surname, and it was said last name and first name after that. So pay attention to these small details, especially when you have a job interview, because they always want to check how much attention to details you pay. And if you have, for example, comma here, and you will forget to add it on your test assignment, so it's most likely they will give you less points for that. So let's say surname, then instead of first name I will say name, and instead of H I will say H. Run it like that. So I can say, for example, Jack Smith 25, and we'll get a sentence like that. I will save all these solutions for you, so you will have these files. So we won't waste a lot of time for you writing it down now. Okay, any questions? Oh, this one was easy. So I'll create another file. So let's do 002 test. Second one was uh, finding the hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is the longest side of the triangle, of the right angle triangle. So it doesn't say that user must enter cathets, so you don't have to do the input here. So what I will do, I will say that A is equal to 3 and B is equal to 4, and then I will write the solution. So you got the formula here. What you needed to do is actually say that C is equal to, I will put brackets here because I need to find the square root, and square root is exponentation to 0.5, and we know that exponentation has the most priority in arithmetic operators, and this means that everything we want to take square root of must be in brackets. So it's a squared plus b squared and exponentiate to 0.5. So print c must be equal to 5. Good. So what I wanted to comment, don't do that, please. So it was said like that in the formula, a type to power a. Actually, you have this number, so it's better to use that, because in case you want to change variable names at some point. So let's say, as I would like to do a side a and a side b here. So in order to change this, I will have to change only two variables instead of four. If you would write a to power of a and b to power of b. So instead of that, it's better to use exponentation. But it's not a mistake as well, so if you had it. So that's a second test. I think you have no questions here. Actually, I'll show you something. There are different libraries. Nikolai will explain data analysis part more about that. For example, there is a math library. So you can use that as well. And if we speak about libraries, it's not part of the basic Python. Now you will continue with Nikolai, those of you who will do analysis. But actually, we could find C using math library. And if you import this library, it's a built-in library. So it's a Python, it is installed with Python. You can see that there are a lot of different methods inside. So basically, these all are mathematical methods. So what you have here is square root, for example, to get the square root. You have sinus, cosinus, arc cosinus, and so on and so on. You have some things like converting to degrees and converting to radians, because all programming languages use radians instead of degrees. So if you have, like, say, 90-degree angle, you need to convert it to radians in order to use math library. But you can look through, there's a lot of different mathematical functions in here, so tangents as well. There are some think there should be. Yeah, there are some constants as well. For example, math pi will return a pi number, so 3.14 something else. So you can look at that. Actually, Nikolai will show you as well. So some things from here. So those of you who found a solution using math library, it would look like that. So a power of 2 plus b power of 2. So this is a solution as well. It works too. And as I told you before, that in programming, the general rule is if your program does the task given, so it works, then you did it correctly. Is it the most optimal way for solution or no? It's a different story. So you have two different approaches. Both of them are fine. So part 3. Test. The third part was similar, but user must input sites. Same thing here. You could say A, B, C, for example, and use input with split. The problem here is that if you declare three variables and use input with split, you can't use converting to float in the same line. So you will have to convert to float separately somewhere. That's why I will do it a single variable each. So I will start with float and put input inside float already.
Why float, not integer?
Because we are looking at triangle sides. They don't have to be integers. They can be like 3.5 and so on and so on. So when we speak about some, let's say, geometric figures, we don't look at sides using integers only. So we have like floating point numbers in there quite often. And the thing is, if we use 3, 4, 5, we will get 6 as an area, for example. But if we use some different numbers, we might get something like 6 points and so on and so on. So user inputs three sites. Let's do it like that. I will write shortly site A and then copy all of that and just change the values. So B site B, C is site C. So, and the task was to write a program that checks if a triangle is a right angled triangle. So we have this formula here. It's basically, let's write it using if c power 2 is equal to a power 2 plus b power 2, then we can print that this is a right angled triangle. And else, if it's not, we can print that this is not a right angled triangle. So we told that you didn't have a task for to check which side is hypotenuse, because hypotenuse is the longest side of the triangle. So in let's say more complex tasks, you might have to check which side is the longest and only then do the calculation. But in our task it wasn't needed. So let's say 3, 4, 5 is a right angle triangle, and if we take, for example, 4, 5, 6, it's not a right angle triangle. So that one was quite easy as well. Okay, number 4. Actually, most of you did it right. So that was a surprise for me, because most of the groups I had before had difficulties with these tasks. So user inputs an arbitrary list, write a program that outputs the elements of the list in the reverse order. First part, everyone did correctly. Second part, no one did correctly. I will explain why. So let's say user list is equal. How user can enter some list? So the only way to get input from user is using input method. So let's do it. Input enter list items. I say use comma as separator. Uh, we can split. That's a logical thing. We can split. And why I want user to use comma instead of white space? Because maybe user wants to enter a couple of words as a list element. So I will say that we are using comma space here, and let's print it. Print user list. So let's say 1 comma hello world comma 1 2 3 something else, doesn't matter. So this way user can input a list. We take user's input, use a split method with some sort of separator we decide, and user enters some stuff. Comma space is a good separator in case you want user to enter a couple of words as a single element. So it's only comma space will be taken as separator. So the second part of the task was that program outputs elements of the list in a reverse order. So what everyone did is actually something like that, or use the reversed method, or so let's say I'll do all the same. So what everyone, okay, let's do it again. I'll say 1 2 3 4 5 6. So most of you did it this way. 6 5 4 3 2 1. Oh, use the reverse method, it doesn't matter. But the task was outputs elements of the list. So what you needed to do is for elements in user list reversed. So I'll do it like that. Print element.
Why?
Why? Because this way you output elements in a reverse order. Before that, when I printed that, it's just a reversed list. So it's not elements outputted. It's just a reversed list. The task was output elements in a reverse order. So we need to print each element like that. Well, I don't put many marks to you. I don't say that you did wrong because it's a common thing. But once again, pay attention to details. And if you doubt in something, you better ask because it's a normal thing, even if you work. Because doing something and then redoing it again is a worse thing. Then you just ask questions and do it right from the first time. So even an employer is not interested in you doing some extra job just in redoing what you did before. So that's it for this one. So fifth, it's always a complex thing. I think it's because of the way the task is written. But let's take these two tuples. We'll take it like that. So the task was to create a tuple with tuple b on the index 2, index 2, index 1, index 2. So the easiest way to do that was, let's say, to tuple c. The easiest way is to take tuple a. So we need from 0 to 2 not included, plus tuple b plus tuple a from 2 till the end. So actually we can remove the 0 to print tuple c. So you'll get it like that. So that was the easiest way. Of course, it's not the same tuple, and we spoke about that before. So every time tuple is immutable, so you can't add anything inside tuple by having the same tuple as an output. Second way of doing this is using for cycle and converting tuples to lists. So I can say that tuple A is now a list from tuple A. So I know that I can insert in list using insert method. I can put index and the value. So what I will do, I will say for num in tuple b, tuple a, insert to second index, and what we insert num. I won't be converting, no, let's say, okay, tuple a. So if I show you the outputs, there is something wrong because tuple b was added backwards, so starting from 5 2, and that's logical because we take tuple b, and each round of this cycle num is equal to one of the values. So first round num is equal to 8. What we do, we insert 8 to the second index, then we take 2 and insert 2 to the second index, which moves 8 to the right, so to the third index. In order to solve this, we can use the backwards tuple here. So what we do, we just reverse this tuple and take 5, 2, and then 8. And you will get the same results. The only thing we need to do is tuple A is now equal to tuple A, because we needed a tuple in the end, so you can convert to list, do some modifications and convert back to tuple, or you could actually build a new tuple this way. So any questions? Okay, and let's do the hard tasks. So it was 6 and 7. 6, I saw someone was using library. I don't remember which one was it, characters or strings or something like that. I'm not explaining you that because you need to understand how translate method works. It's quite it's not obvious. Let's say I'm not doing it now, but I will show you solutions without some libraries. So you could use a dictionary or you could use a list here. It depends on the value. Let's say I have this test list and I will have 1 2 3 double 4 triple 5, no, let's say 7 6, let's say 7 and triple 8. So we have 8 is the most common. I'll do some tens as well. So 5 and 8 are the most common. 5 is 3 times and 8 is 3 times. So we need to find both. The task was that we return a list with numbers. So what I can do, I can actually create a max count variable that is equal to 0. Also, I will create a, let's say, result. Result will be an empty list. I will be adding numbers in it in order to return. So what I can do here, I can say that for num in test list, what I will do, I will be counting these numbers. So I will find how many times each of the number exists in this test list. And if I find the bigger number than max count, I will be changing the max count value. So how I will do this, I will say if test list count num is more than max count, then max count will be equal to test lst count num. So what that will give me, print max count, what that will give me, it will give me the maximum occurrences for any of the numbers here. For example, I have 5 and 8 3 times and it's the most common. If I add another 8, this will return me 4. Why is that? It takes one counts, so says 1 is 1 times in this list. 1 is bigger than 0, so we change max count to be 1 now. So next run we take 2. 2 is 1 time, occurs only 1 time in here, so 1 is not bigger than 1, we skip this step. We take 3, we go to 4. 4 is 2 times, so 2 is bigger than 1, we have max count equal to 1 already. So we change max count to 2, and so on until we find the maximum number. And in order to get the result, we need to run another for cycle. So I do the same for num in test list. And now I say that if test list count num is equal to max count, because our max count has the maximum occurrences now, then we need to append to result. So if we do it like that, print result. If we do it like that, append no. So if we do it like that, all of the numbers, so we have 4 8s, all 4 8s will be appended to result. Or if I delete that and leave 3 5s and 3 8s will be appended to result. So you can actually do this two ways. You can convert it to set and then back to list. So we know that set deletes all duplicates. So you can do it this way, or when adding, you can say if num not in result append num. So this if will check if this number is already in result, we won't be adding it an extra time. So then you don't need that line, you can only print the result. And it will work with any occurrences. So if I say 10 is 3 times, the 10 will be added to. Or if, for example, you only have 3 5s, only 5 will be added. So this is a solution using a list. Of course, it needs 2 for cycles. That's why I always say it's a complex task. You need some, let's say, programmers thinking to solve this, and it's a hard thing to achieve after only four lessons of Python. So no worries. But some people do find at least part of this solution, and I find it great because it's quite hard task for beginner. So yeah.
I have used the dictionary.
Yeah, I will show a dictionary solution as well. So this is using a list. Dictionary solution is a bit more prettier, let's say. I will create a result variable again, and this will be an empty dictionary. And what I can do here, you used some library as well? No. Okay, let me see. Yep. Someone used library. There is a library and the translate method. It actually needs some specific order of characters to use that translate. So if I want to use dictionary, I like this solution a bit more. So what I do here, I do the same thing for num in test list. I'll do the same check. Actually, no, I will do it like that. I will say result. Then I need a key because it's a dictionary. So what I do here, I will create a key that is a number from our list. And why am I doing that? Because dictionary doesn't allow duplicate keys, and we won't be having any like duplicates like 4 4 5 5 5 7 8 8 8 and so on. So I will be using the same number as a key, and for value I will be adding a count number. So print result. If you do it like that. So what we actually created, we created a dictionary that uses all possible numbers, all unique numbers from this list as a keys, and how many times this number occurs in test list as a value. So 1 occurs 1 time, 2 occurs 1 time, 3 occurs 1 time, 4 2 times, 5 3 times, and so on and so on. So now we need to find maximum occurrences. So if I ask Python to do max of result, it will return me 10. Why is that? Because Python, when you iterate dictionary, you iterate keys, not values. So when you do it like that, it iterates keys only. So it's not the best solution. That's why I will do it like that. I will say that result list is equal to empty list, and do for num not actually. We can use it. Okay, let's do result. In result, for num in result, what we need to see, we need to check if value of this key is a maximum value possible. So what I do here, I say if result yes, result num, and I will use this keys and values method. So I will use max result dot values. If you don't remember, dot values used with dictionary returns you a list of values. So that's what we need. So if result num, we index result with one of these numbers. If value of this number is equal to maximum possible value in all of the results values, then we can append it to result list. But I will do the same if result num not in result list append num. And sorry, we will use num here because we need nums.
I didn't understand the second.
I will explain. 558. Yep.
What's
So
5, what's 8?
58 is 5 occurs here 3 times and 8 occurs 3 times. So these are the numbers that the most common numbers in this list. So if I say, for example, put another 8 here, then only 8 will be returned. Or if I put, for example, 10, another 10, so we have 3 numbers that occur 3 times. So we will get 5, 8, 10. How it works? We iterate the result. Result is a dictionary. Let's print it here as well. Print result. So we can see. So we iterate result for num in result. What is iterated? Keys. Keys that represents different numbers we have in test list. Then we use this key with our result dictionary to extract its values. So basically, let's say first round, we take 1. Result 1 returns us that value. So if that value is equal to max, max is a method that takes the maximum value, result dot values, let me show you, result dot values is a list of values from the dictionary. So if you just print, if you say for num in result, you iterate keys. But if you say for num in result dot values, you will be iterating values. I can show this example here. So let's say X is name Jack, surname Smith. So I say for I in X, print I. What I will get? I will get name and surname. Yep. So I will be iterating this. But if I put dot, dot values to X dot values, I will iterate values instead of keys. So what I use, why I do it here, I want to know what is the maximum value, because value represents how many times number occurs in our test list. So I say that if using this num key we get the same result as a maximum possible result, then it is our number, the most common number. And we check if it's not already in result list, we will append it. And remind yourself, we had this dot keys, dot values, dot items. So if I say x equals, again, name Jack, surname Smith, let's add something else, age 25. So if I print x dot keys, I will be getting pretty much a list of keys without any values, just a list of keys. So if I take the same dictionary and ask for values like that, I will get a list of values from the same dictionary.
I just don't get why we are if now not in results using that.
Because otherwise it will add so many times, as many times as you have it here. So if I, let's say, delete it and add it here and run again. No, we don't have to do this. Sorry, my bad. Because we have dictionary without any duplicates.
Yes, but if we would have a dictionary duplicate,
No, we can't have dictionary with
because
duplicate
keys
keys.
are
Yeah. But if it's a list, for example, and you have duplicates there, so you should do this check so you won't be getting some extra values.
in my case I didn't know the count. Like I I didn't know the count, that's why I created the count as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it's not bad. It still works. The thing is that if it works, it's good.
Yeah,
Uh,
but what's the like better version?
it's better to use count method. Just let's say, but there are two different approaches. I can't say which one is better because your method allows us to add something extra in there without any problems. My method using count might cause me to change this count method to something else if I want to add more and more functionality. These are two different approaches. I can't say which is best. Usually, it is decided while project planning. So basically, one approach is that we don't write anything short. We try to do everything as big as possible, using all four cycles, using all if and if else's, just in order to make it easier to add something there. So if we're working on a project that might be getting some extra features later on, maybe the best solution is not using some shorthands or shortcuts and so on and so on. But it's totally up to you. What else we can get here is items, just in case you forgot. So keys returns you a list of keys, values returns you a list of values, and items returns you a list of tuples that have two values inside it. And the first value is a key, second value is a value from the dictionary. So you can actually take any dictionary and create three different types of lists from a dictionary. Depends on what you want to achieve. All right, and let's do the last one. It's a practical test 7. It wasn't a hard one. Some of you actually did a solution for that. So what we need to do is we need to write a program that takes some number of seconds and returns it in days, hours, minutes, and seconds format. So what can we do here? Let's say I will do a seconds variable. I will use the same number I had in example. And what can we find? So we start with finding days equal. And how can we find day? We divide seconds by the amount of seconds in one day. So have, let's say, seconds. I will use double division sign because I want an integer, so I want full days. I don't want this floating point part. I want how many full days there are. So if we say about how many seconds there is in one day, we have 24 hours. There is 60 minutes in each hour, and there is 60 minutes in each 60 seconds in each minute. So if I print days, I will get 14. That is a correct answer. So 14 full days. So when we found days now, what we need to do is we need to take away all of the seconds that we used for full days. So we have the remaining seconds. How can we do this? We use seconds and find the remainder by dividing with the same value. So we take how many seconds there is in one day and find the remainder of division seconds by seconds in one day. So remaining seconds don't include any days, they include hours, minutes, and seconds only. So next step is finding hours. Hours, we take same variable because it's changed now. I told you that we can use, this is the same thing as we would do seconds, the same thing if we would do it like that. So it's just a short way to write it down. So change the value of seconds by remainder of seconds divided by that. So now we need to divide by how many seconds we have in 1 hour. So basically 60 minutes times 60 seconds. So 3,600 seconds. Good, now we know it. We do the same thing again with seconds. So we say that divided by 60 times 60 minutes. Same thing, but different amount of seconds. So we just divide by 60 because there is 60 seconds in 1 minute. And same again. And now we can write our message. Let's say hours, uh, days, days. Then we do hours, colon, minutes, colon, seconds. Yep. Any questions?
No, I just did different.
You can do it in many ways, but the idea is same. So you take the whole amount of seconds and find how many full days there are. Then you take this amount of seconds for full days out from the total seconds value. Then you find hours and do the same step, but take.
Should should we rewrite every time the second?
Why not? What is the better way? Creating new variables. It's not a good way.
No, I'm not.
Show me a solution. In total seconds. Let's say it's quite. Your solution requires more computing actually. So you have bigger numbers and there's more computing for processor. But you can leave it like that as well. So you actually shouldn't. But in my case, I don't need to find seconds. You do and I don't. So I don't need to find seconds here because I already have them. But it's up to you. Actually, you can do it your way as well. So as I tell everyone, if it works, it is correct. So the best way of finding solution is not always, it doesn't always comes first. And if you look at different, let's say, phone apps, you do have updates quite often on them. And if you look through the update messages, you see bug fixes, optimization, and so on and so on. What does this mean? This means that people creating software, they create it like they feel they should do it, and then they find for solutions to optimize code. So it's exactly the same way, because main task is to create a program that works and you can sell it to someone, for example, or give it to someone for usage. And only after that you can work on some improvements, you can work on finding bugs, mistakes, and so on and so on. So yeah, possibly your first program is not written in the best way using the best practices, but you can update it later to create a better version. But first of all, main idea and the main task, that program must be working. It doesn't matter how long it works, it doesn't matter how optimized it is, it must be working first of all. Right, and I will show you FizzBuzz as well, and then we'll see about this ID code. Maybe we will do it next lesson. So, as about FizzBuzz homework, actually, FizzBuzz is quite popular on job interviews. I'm not sure if it's still that much popular, but at some point, pretty much every job interview had the FizzBuzz. Actually, my last group of Python they finished about 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago. They one of the students went to a job interview and got this FizzBuzz assignment as well. So I usually like to show it, and the problem for that, for most people, is the way the assignment is written. So you say for range of numbers from 1 to 100, write a program that prints fizz, if number prints buzz, if number divided by 5 without remainder, and fizz buzz if number divides by 3 and 5 without remainder. So what people start doing, okay, I need a range of numbers. So I say for num in range 1 to 100. What most people usually do. Yes, it is supposed to be 101, and the reason for that is when you have a task saying from 1 to 100, usually people mean 100 including. So people who give tasks like that, they don't necessarily know that last number in programming is never included. So you need to add 1 to 101. You could actually do it like that, but it will start with 0 then. So it's not a good way of doing it. So we can use this range. Uh, and the next thing what people do, they start writing if elif statement step by step like it is in the assignment. So if we do that, I say if num remainder of division by 3 is equal to 0, we will print, let's say, fizz elif num remainder of division by 5, we print buzz elif. Then for this part you can actually go two ways. So you can use logical operator or and do two different conditions. Let's say like that, or num 5 equal to 0, print FizzBuzz. So you can do it like that, or those of you who know math can also do it like that. Because numbers divided by 15 without remainder are always divided by 3 and 5 and nothing else without remainder. So actually you can use that solution instead of that if you want to.
In the second value, it should be and, not or.
And yeah, and. So I will put else as well. Just print num and let's
And
run it.
moreover, can't we write like this percentage sign 3 and then percentage sign 5?
No.
No.
Two separate conditions are split with logical
What
operators.
about the
If we speak about numbers, for example, if, right, let's say x is equal to 6, for example, um, yep, uh, so you can use actually a shorthand like that. So when we speak about comparing one variable with two different values, yeah. Or you can say, for example, like that, like that. So if x is equal to 5, for example, if x will be equal to 5, it will work, it will print good, but if x is like that, it won't work. So it's same as and. So x is equal to 5 and, but I don't recommend you doing conditions like that. It's better to use or, because when you read it later, this reads better. So let's check our FizzBuzz. I'm running it, and what I see here that I have not a single FizzBuzz inside. And this is correct. This is the way we actually did the assignment. So what we have here, we know that if else statement checks until first condition that returns true. So when we find first condition that returns true, we stop checking everything else. So what happens here? Let's say we have 15. 15 is divided by 3 without remainder and by 5 without remainder. So we have 15. If 15 divided by 3 equals 0, true. So we take fizz and don't check anything else. Let's say we have 5 or 10. So 10 is not divided by 3, but 10 is divided by 5. Or we have, for example, 30 that actually is divided by 3 and 5. We get that thing as well. So what we need to do is to put more complex conditions on top, because these two exclude us getting to that condition. So if, let's say, if number is divided by 3 and 5, so we will always get fizz for that. And if we check here, for example, okay, 11, 13, 14, 15. 15 is divided by 3 and 5 without remainder, but dividing by 3 without remainder already catches this thing. So what we need to do is put a more complex condition on top, a leaf, and the less complex solutions on bottom. So first what we check if it can be divided by 3 and 5 without remainder, and if it's not, we will be checking separately 3 and separately 5. So this is the FizzBuzz for you. It's quite high possibility that you will get FizzBuzz as a job assignment during the interview. And please pay attention to details. And the second thing, please check your output. So because most of my students, they leave it like I showed before with this part at the bottom. They just send me the homework, and then when I say it's wrong, they, why is that? I said, did you try running it? Yes. Did you check the result? Did you find at least one FizzBuzz in there? No. So please pay attention to details. But yeah, this task is quite often given as a on a job interview, and there are different implementations of FizzBuzz. So if you check, for example, FizzBuzz task, um, so for example, given an integer n, for every integer I less or equal to n, the task is to print FizzBuzz if it's divisible by 3 and 5. So the task is a little bit different here. I think it's JavaScript, or maybe not. Let's double check. C++, Python. So yeah, for example, there is a more complex solution in Python as well. Range from 1 till n plus 1. So if we have this a function here already. So the same thing, but we append somewhere to the list. The condition is actually same. Instead of printing, we append to the list.
But, okay, currently we don't know the functions, but we will know the functions, right?
Today, yep.
If we have such a task, it's better to use the functions or like the simple.
Let's say if it doesn't require you a function, you may not use a function. So if you want to show that you know a lot and you know how to do functions, it's not bad to create a function. Because actually here from a function you only get this line and n variable, and you get this line as a return. So it's not a big deal to create a function. And by using function, you can actually, for example, add two variables here and say from given number to given number. So you give more opportunity to work with. We will do a FizzBuzz function today. So. Right. Do you have any questions on ID code part? Because some of you already sent me solutions. No, yours are good. I commented already. The only thing, well, it's not a problem, but you can try doing fourth part, the validation part. You can try using for cycle instead of writing this long formula. So long formula works, but you can try to do this long thing. I think I will show you the solution for this next lesson because we already used 1 hour of time and I want to give you functions. If we have any time left at the end of the lesson, then we will check this ID code. No, next lesson, data analysis parts won't be here already, so they will have to look at the video. If you, no, yeah, Friday we will be at the same time, so it's quite hard to attend both. Right, functions. Functions, functions. Create a new folder for functions. I will start now, then we'll do a quick break and continue afterwards. Right. So speaking about functions, what are these? And why do we have to use functions? So first of all, function is something like a black box. Why it is called the black box? I will speak about where variables are seen and where they're not, about global scope and local scope later. But why I like to call functions a black box is just because you have some part of code that accepts some parameters or arguments and returns you some results. So basically, if we speak about uh, regular math, and let's say a square root is a function. So you give some number and get the square root of it in return. So it is a function that takes the square root out. There are different functions in programming, and what we will learn first of all is a functional approach to programming, and those who will remain with me on Python part will be doing and object-oriented programming as well. So it's a bit different approach. But first of all, we need to understand how functions work. So function is some code that can be called many times as you want, and it will repeat doing something. So the simplest functions we can have is functions without parameters and functions without returns. So let's try. To declare a function in Python, you need to use a def keyword, shorthand for define. And then you need to provide the name of function. Names of functions are exactly the same thing as variable names. So first of all, try to keep function names lowercase. Uppercase are used for classes in Python. In object-oriented programming. So try keeping it lowercase. For example, I will call mine no params. And try to keep function names as much self-explanatory as possible. So if you're finding an area of triangle in this function, then name it a triangle area or something like that. So later on, these functions will be readable for a person. After the function name, we put these brackets or parentheses. Uh, so, does that remind you something? Pretty much all of the Python methods we used. type, two parentheses, print, two parentheses, uh, max, min, pretty much everything. So function is similar to a method, and those of you who will be continuing with object-oriented programming, actually I advise everyone to look at that lecture. Even if you're doing data analysis, object-oriented programming is a part of basic Python, so you better look at it. You will later on understand that methods are actually functions, but they are written not in a code, but inside classes. So basically, methods, that everything that I call a method is a pre-made Python function inside some classes. So the only thing we will do here is say hello world, and nothing else. So what you have here is the most simple function you can get. Function without a single parameter and a function without any return. So if I run the code, nothing will happen. Nothing will happen. And that's a correct behavior for this program. The thing is that functions are only declared this way. So we didn't call this function to execute and nothing happens. We do have a print statement, but it's inside the function. So basically with these two lines of code, we made Python create a function with a name of no params and store a body of function of print hello world. If we want to run this function, if we want to use this function, we can call it by its name. So I use no params and put empty brackets as well, like that. Why is that? Because if I take these brackets away, nothing will happen. And the reason for that is that function name without parentheses won't run the function. It will just take the value of function. Let's try to print it. No params without brackets. So function, no params, at that cell end of memory. So by not using parentheses or brackets, no params, by using these brackets, we tell Python to run, to execute this function. So printing it like that will make the function work and print hello world. And as I told before, we can run function as many times as we want. So functions are reusable. And here where the first rule about function comes. If you have a repeatable code inside your program, so some block of code that you need to repeat from time to time, or repeat it at least twice, thrice, and so on and so on, it's better to put this code inside function. Because the good way of programming is never repeat yourself. So if you have, let's say, similar code but with different values, you can create a function for that. So you won't have to rewrite the same logics over and over again. So every single time I will call this no params thing, it will do whatever it says inside. So it will execute code inside it. So this is the basic look at the function. So function doesn't have any return values, any parameters. What do I mean by return values? Let's say print no params, like that, using brackets inside. So I try to print this function. We already know that every equation in Python, after it is executed, if it returns something, it will take the value of whatever it returns. For example, when we used string methods, we had modified strings returned all the time. So for example, we use upper, so the value is the same string but uppercase and the same data type as a string. So if I do that, I have hello world printed 2 times and a none. What does this mean? First, hello world is printed by this line. So if I comment this one out and do it again, I will have only one hello world. But why is this none here, and what happens? There's no return value. So no params is a function that doesn't actually have any value itself. It's a function for doing something. And by doing something, I mean printing hello world. So every time I run this function, we have a hello world printed in our console. So hello world, this line of text, is printed by that part of code. So the function itself doesn't have any value. It doesn't take any value. I showed you this example before when we did list methods. List methods don't have values. So by printing this function, I get none because this function doesn't have any value. But if we put a return inside the function, let's say hello planet, and actually I will comment out this print. Yeah, I will just leave a return. And let's say I'll do it like that. Print part 2. I'll just print this part 1 and part 2 so you will see the difference. So before we didn't have a return inside the function and we had the print statement. And by running function like that without an extra print statement, we had this hello world printed. So what happens now is we do have a return, but our function doesn't do anything, doesn't print. It only returns some value. So if I print this function, I will get its value, its return value as a value. So the function is equal to what it returns. And if it doesn't return anything, it is equal to none. So that's the basic rule. And it depends on what you want to do, because some of your functions, for example, don't have to return anything. Some of your function needs to do something. For example, all of the list methods, dot append, for example. So what did this method do? It appended, it added some value inside the list, and it doesn't have to take value itself. But on the other hand, we had method pop that always took value of a deleted element. So that's what happens. Your function may have one or more returns. I will show you these examples later. Or your function might not have any returns. In this case, it is always equal to none. And if it has a return, it is equal to whatever this function returns. Data types including. So basically I have a string here, so no params is a type of string. If I would have, for example, some integer here, so no params would be type of integer. Or if I return a list, so no params is a type of list. Right, let's see more examples. So no parameters. Function without parameters, and this function does return something. So let's say def square area. So I want to create a function that will count a square area. Square area formula is a times b, where a is width and b is height, or it actually doesn't matter which one is which. So let's say I want a function that takes parameters, so takes arguments, that is width and height of a square. So let's add them. I can add all of the parameters here inside brackets, and all of the names I use are like variables. You create them yourself. They need to represent what you need to add here. So I'll say width and height, or WH, or whatever I want to add. And I will say that, let's say, result is equal to width times height. And we will return the result. Do I need to print this function to see the result? Or I can just run it?
No, because we don't know width and height.
Oh, we can add them. So let's say I will add it to print. Why I will add it to print? Because it doesn't print anything itself. It only returns the result. So calling this function will return whatever this result is. In our case, it's a number. So I will call it here. And let's see, I just started writing it. Square area. And what do you see? Of course you see it, but what you see in brackets is actually parameters that we need to add. So let's use it, square area. And if I run it like that, I will definitely get an error. And if we look at the error, it's a type error. And it says missing two requirement positional arguments. And I will explain. When you declare a function, you call these parameters while declaring a function. Well, when you call the function, you put over, it gives, provide some values there. You call them arguments. So that's the difference. It's the same thing actually, but parameters are called when we declare the function, and arguments are when we call the function. So missing two required positional arguments that are width and height. So let's provide them. Let's say I have a width of 10 and height of 20. So what happened? We put two numbers in here and ran the function. So first number was provided to function as a width, and second number was provided as height. Then both of these numbers were used inside the function, so 10 times 20 is 200, saved to result variable, and the function returned the result. So what happens here is that we have two parameters, and we can use these parameters with different values. Because if I have another function here, and let's say this one will be 5 and 2, and this one will be 20 and 30, for example, we can still use this function, but with different values, getting different results, but using the same formula. So what function gives us? It gives us opportunity to reuse some block of code with different values. Because we might have, I don't know, 100 different squares with different sides, and we need to count an area for each of them. And the best way to do this is to run it through the function and do the same thing with each of them. I offer to make a break and then we continue.